All right, everyone. Today on No Blue Wave, yet again, we've got to analyze Trump's new approval. It's ticked up slightly further, I believe, by 0.4. It's now at 43.4%. That's, within 2 points of the 45 he needs to be in the aggregate during the midterm election to really have a positive impact on the Republicans. And there was an interesting article, link archived, of course, in the description, talking about these primaries. Now, the Never Trumpers are not faring well. For all of the bravado of the Democrats when snap special elections were being held when Trump was at 38% approval, and shit, well, no shit, they're going to run against Donald Trump, and a lot of these people are going to win, even though it was not all of them. Now that he's creeping up towards 45, they're a little more nervous. The Democrats on the surface right now are saying, oh, yeah, we're good, it's blue wave, we need to retake the House, maybe we can remove Donald Trump. In private, do you really think that they're thinking that that's going to happen? At this point, their best hope is to narrowly take the House, and they probably lose a little power in the Senate. That's a tacit victory because of them taking the House, but it's no longer assured that that's going to happen. And every time Trump's approval goes up or a Never-Trump candidate gets smacked down, the Republicans gain a little more ground. Because it is the party of Trump fundamentally. Every midterm is just a referendum on the president. For many intents, unless it's a really popular incumbent or somebody who's an incumbent or a challenger, they get rocked by a scandal or something. Ultimately, all things even. The president, if they're popular, they drag their party up. If the president's unpopular, the party gets, fucked, basically. Trump is considerably more popular now than when he was at, 38%, which is roughly the lowest he's been at. He's gained more than 5 points since then. Around 6, actually, I think it was 37. That's about as low as he can go. I still speculate that he has a high floor of approval. Well, people are saying he has a low ceiling. You said that during the election. You were totally fucking wrong during the Republican primaries. This low ceiling sort of bullshit is bullshit. His ceiling's probably around 70%. Technically, because, about a third of the country or so will never vote for or approve of Trump. They think he's Adolf Hitler. Do you think the average centrist that right now is still not on the Trump train just because of constant propaganda or maybe they wanted the wall or something, do you really think that they would never support Trump if those impediments were cleared? Well, that's funny. His approval is almost as high now as it was at the highest point, which was barely above 45 right after Election Day. It was like a couple weeks later he hit his peak. And then he started falling off a cliff because the legacy media started chiming in and going on a nonstop attack. What I said would happen is that would be desensitized against. Eventually, the public would stop responding to the propaganda because they've inundated people with it for so long, and yet Trump would still manage to make some accomplishments, whatever form those may be in. And he has. The Korea deal. The American people, by and large, appear to think that it's a good thing. So the media can say, well, he didn't get enough concessions, the war games thing was Seoul, that's a terrible idea, he's a Russian pawn, blah, 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 you make a fool of himself. None of that happened. Everything's fine. Most people, it appears, including in the center, the nonpartisan or even center-left crowd, think it's a good idea. It's proof that he's not going to start World War III over a tweet, basically. That really, I think, helps clean up people's fears. And as for the economy, of course, it's going fine. Trump is going to make that a huge issue. The Republicans, running especially in small-town and flyover state America, are going to point mainly to the economy. Elsewhere, they're going to point to foreign policy, I think. And I think it works. The Never-Trumpers have been basically swept away. You don't hear much again, the Lindsey Graham is a great example. He has basically formed rank with Trump at this point. He's standing side by side with Trump on 90% of issues. If Trump's approval were 5 points lower, he wouldn't be doing that. But he has realized, looking at the primaries, the results of which candidates win, the Trump candidate or the sort of generic Republican partisan / moderate candidate, the Trumpites are winning 2-1 right now. So he knows better. He doesn't want to go up against Trump. And this is how, by the way, after the midterms, if the Democrats don't retake the House, Trump gets his wall, he gets it funded, he gets, sanctuary city crackdown. He probably gets tax decrease number 2. He probably gets many more deregulatory sort of moves. He probably gets more intrinsic foreign policy and a lot less flack for it. For 2 years, he'll be able to do basically whatever he wants. And I think, personally, based on the understanding of the pre-Trump Republican Party as a party of war and surveillance and moralism. Based on the Trump Party as it abandoned moralism, it's more populistic, the foreign policy is a bit more isolationist. Good. I think that's a good thing. It's a good direction for the Republicans to move in, especially for younger voters. Look, is war really popular among the young? Yeah, not necessarily. I don't think so. Proxy wars and stuff. The war on drugs, is it popular among younger people? No, and Trump is like, he's a marijuana Republican. He doesn't give a fuck. He stands with Rand on these issues. He's trying to allow the states to legalize. People aren't giving him any credit. Look, you called Clinton the first black president. It was sort of a joke at the time because he played saxophone and shit. And it was so stupid too. They called Obama the first gay president. You know why? Because he stood out of the way on the Defense of Marriage Act. He refused to defend DOMA. That was the only contribution he ever made to the struggle for gay rights. The states, by and large, had already legalized gay marriage before he even touched the issue, and he was a civil union Democrat back in the mid-2000s. Back until he ran for the presidency, he was this fucking coward, sellout civil union Democrat. So are you going to call Trump the first marijuana president for standing out of the way and basically legalizing marijuana nationwide? For basically ignoring Jeff Sessions? By the way, ignoring Jeff Sessions should become a habit for him. Jeff Sessions, other than the asylum policy change that he made, he's basically an embarrassment. I don't even know why he's still in the position. I think the second the Mueller probe ends, Trump is going to approach him and say, okay, you're out. You know, you've been nothing but trouble this whole fucking time. Why did I ever put you in this fucking position? I think he should just can him now, but it would look conspicuous. People, even though he's problematic, and even though the left realizes Jeff Sessions is a fucking moron, they would probably just attack Trump. Oh, it's because of the Mueller probe. It's certainly not because Jeff Sessions and Trump are fundamentally at odds on every other policy. Has nothing to do with that. It's got to be a conspiracy. It's the Russians. And it'd be very funny. It's just so stupid. Now, the never-Trumpers have basically failed. You can expect after the midterms, again, if the Republicans maintain the Senate, which is a 90% chance of that right now, I don't think they really have to worry, especially with McConnell's move to cut them off from campaigning effectively for all of August. If you look at that, and then you look at the House where there's at best a 50-50 chance of the Democrats taking it by a seat or two, I still think the Republicans maintain it very narrowly. Trump gets to do whatever he wants. His approval will be sky high because his policies, cutting taxes is popular. Conducting proper diplomacy is generally popular. Reigning over deregulation that causes a job boom, that's popular. These are popular things. The Democrats keep falling on their own sword to try to raise people's taxes. Like Pelosi coming on, yes, if we need to reverse these tax cuts. Yes, that was very popular. No, there's a reason why you went from 13 to 3 points ahead of the Republicans in the generic congressional ballot for the midterms. That's a large part of it. And it's going to keep up. Like, you still got the Clintons keep doing stupid shit. Nancy Pelosi, every time she speaks, she's saying something stupid. The Republican Party continues to gobble up more and more support among millennials that increasingly don't believe the Democratic Party can do buttfuck anything. You're in a pretty tight pickle if you're a Democrat right now. I'd much rather be a Trumpite Republican candidate than a never-Trumper going into the midterms, or a Democrat, certainly. Unless it was in a far blue state that Trump lost by 30 points. Now, I'm running in California. Yeah, I think I'll be a Trump Republican. Probably not going to work so well. But if you're running in most parts of the country, yeah, Trump won. If you look at the map, he indeed got more electoral votes for a reason. He got more votes in more states by far that represent a larger proportion of the U.S. population. It's just that California and New York stacked the deck with millions of extra voters that were extremely pissed off. The Democrats apparently didn't understand that the Electoral College is a thing. All those pets voting, I guess, didn't help in other states. You know, imagine that. But Trump is basically riding high. He's the master of the Republican Party. This election fundamentally will be a referendum on him. And by the way, the Democrats will sweep away a lot of House Republicans. It's just a matter of do they retake the House? They can't claim a victory if they're still not in control of anything in the government. You can't claim a victory if you don't control the House or the Senate or the presidency. How is it a victory? And it's going to be funny because when that fairly likely outcome happens, they're going to say, yeah, but we gained so many House seats. It was a referendum on Trump. We are now behind by less than we were before. and they're going to expect the American people are going to accept that as a victory. No, that will completely shatter the one-dimensionality of Trump. He's going to go and say, look, once again, the nation decided Republicans should choose the way forward. So, now that we have the House and the Senate, the midterms are over, we've got everything we need, probably more power in the Senate, we're going to go forth and do what we need to do. The Democrats need to step out of the way. And at that point, I think he can lean on McConnell to invoke the nuclear option to get appointees and laws passed if necessary, on a basis of how important they are, basically. I think that's likely. I think that the obstruction at that point is much more limited. The Republicans, the never-Trumpers, will definitely step out of the way and fall into line. They'll be like, oh, so Trump didn't destroy the Republican Party. We actually won against the Democrats, basically. Oh, who would have thought that? And then there will be fewer never-Trumpers anyway to deal with. Look, they're getting slaughtered left and right by the Trump candidates. So it's really funny to see because, a year ago people were saying, oh, Trump is the death knell of the Republicans. The Democrats will retake the House and Senate. They will then impeach him. There won't be any Republican Party. It will just be a one-party system for some reason. Now, that's not going to happen now, is it? That's about all. Peace out.